My name is Carter Urso, and I want to introduce you to Matsukaze-ryu Jujitsu. This system uses other systems like Judo, Jujitsu, Karate, and Aikido for its techniques. But what makes this system a little different is, unlike just using shimewaza or strangling or kinketsu waza or ashe waza or ne waza, we use also vital point striking to acupuncture cavities to improve the effects of our techniques. You'll see that we use conventional chokes and strangles and arm bars and manipulations, but we also attack the acupuncture cavities which correspond with the striking area. Again, thank you for letting us demonstrate Matsukaze-ryu Jiu-Jitsu. Now we're going to discuss some kimi, or breakfalls. Most fights don't happen starting out on the ground. We start on our feet. We get thrown to the ground, or we get swept to the ground, or we fall to the ground. And learning how to fall correctly is critical to surviving a street encounter. First one we're going to talk about is forward breakfall. Forward breakfall we're going to start with the beginning level, where we'll come down to our knees. We'll come up off our back of our legs, bring our hands forward in this position. We're going to lean forward. We're going to slap the mat from the elbow to the palm, using the meaty portion of the forearm and the palm to break the fall. We'll slap the mat. The head will be tucked up, bowling the head up, keeping the chin and the head from hitting. Another angle of it will look like this. Coming down, coming up, bring the hands up, leaning forward, slapping the mat, head up. As you practice and get better with that, you can do it from the standing position. From here, bring the hands up, leaning forward, bowling the head up. The impact is absorbed in the arms and the hands. Next, we'll look at the side break fall. To begin this technique, we'll use our right hand first. We're going to lay on the ground and roll to our side. The left shoulder is up. The right hand will come over the left shoulder. The left knee is bent. The right leg is straight. All of this absorbs the impact of the fall, so it's important to understand what's straight and why. We'll reach out and slap the mat, again making contact with the meaty portion of the forearm and the hand, like this. Again, the head is tucked up and I'm relaxed. More advanced technique, the right foot will come across, sweeping across. I'll bend the knees, the hand will come up. I'll slowly go down to my right hip and slap the mat. The rear break fall is utilized if you're being pushed and falling down to the back. To start this break fall off, we're going to go on our back, on the ground, feet up. You'll absorb some of the impact with the feet. Head up, hands crossed. At this point, you're going to reach out and slap the ground, again making an impact with the hands and the forearms. at a 45-degree angle down towards your feet like this. Another angle. An intermediate way of practicing this technique is by squatting down like a catcher, crossing the hands and rolling back. Again, tuck the head. Another look at it. As we get better, a more advanced technique will be from the standing. I'll be here, I'll cross my hands, tuck my chin, bend my legs, lean back, and slap. In this position again, cross the hands, tuck the chin, bend the legs, lean back, slap. Again, tuck the chin. Zenpo Kaiten Ukimi, or forward shoulder roll. This technique is if you're running forward and you happen to fall or if you're thrown to the front. The forward shoulder roll starts by taking your right foot and placing it forward. We're going to take our right hand and place it on the ground with our fingers going back. And our left hand, the fingers will almost touch the right hand's going forward. In this manner. Now we're going to roll to our right shoulder to our left hip, going diagonally across the back. Our left leg will be straight, absorbing some of the impact, and we'll strike just like we did with the side break fall with the left arm. It'll look like this. Again, the head is tucked. We'll look at it from another angle. Kazushi, the breaking of balance. There are 8 positions of off balancing or breaking of balance or Kazushi. We're going to look at the floor first. The 8 positions of off balance, if you draw a X on the ground or a cross, you have forward, back, left, and right. You can see on the ground here we have the lines going straight through my legs and then across. Those are the first 4 positions of off balancing. The dotted lines, which go off in the quadrants, are the other 4 positions. Primary positions and secondary positions. Don't get confused with those terms though, because they're all important. I'm going to utilize an individual, one of my instructors here, DT Thornburg, to come out and we'll demonstrate the off balancing. I'm going to have him stand in the center of the X. And our first position of off balance is directly to his rear or to my front. We get a standard grip, and we'll talk about that more in detail in a little while. And we're going to push him. As he takes a step, his balance has been broken. Now, experienced people with Kazushi understand that this much is enough to break his balance. But entry people and intermediate people need to use a little bit more pressure and actually push to get him to take the step. The next one is pulling him forward towards me. And as he takes the step, his balance has been broken. He's taking the step to compensate for his off balance. The next one is to the right. We pull and he takes the step. And then to the left. We pull and take the step. The next positions are the quadrants. The quadrants are the 4 areas. And we're going to use the first one, which is to the right rear. This way we're going to push to the back and pull slightly to the right. The left rear, again, push back and pull to the left. The right front, pull and push, and the left front. These positions are utilized when we're standing up and we're fighting. There are other positions of Kazushi that most people in Judo or Jujitsu don't cover. These positions are to take this framework and raise it up and put it on a wall behind your opponent. So again, DT will come out. And this time we're not really interested in throwing him. Those other positions would be for throwing. This time we're going to use some joint manipulation to manipulate him. But we still want to break his balance. So I can take his hand and manipulate him by pulling straight up. Remember now, north, south, east, west, and then the quadrants going through him. So we can break his balance by applying pressure up. Notice he comes up on his toes. We've broken his balance. We change the manipulation and we come down. As his knees buckle, his balance breaks. Taking it and going it side to side, pulling to the right. Notice how his body reacts to it. And then coming under and pulling to the left. Again, the body reacts. Those are the first 4 positions. For the standing, looking at it for probably Kanketsu Waza or joint manipulation. Those were the primary. The secondary, again, grabbing and going up and to the right. Again, you notice his body. Then we're going to go down and to the left. Down and to the right. And up and to the left. Those are the other stages of Kazushi. But there's one more that most people don't think about. And that's when I'm laying on my back. When I lay on my back, the next position of Kazushi or off balancing, we take this same framework and we put it over top of us on the ceiling. So, from here, I take it north, south, east, and west. I can break his balance by taking and pulling his arms straight forward and breaking the balance. I can take my leg and bring it up on his foot or on his knee, push it straight back, and again, that breaks the balance. Coming across, getting Kanketsu Waza, the joint manipulation, and pulling straight across, breaking the balance. We're taking the same technique and going across the other way, breaking the balance. Those were the primaries. The secondaries, the quadrants. Bottom right. Bottom left. Top right or top to the left. Now at the same time you're doing these, move back slightly, you can also utilize your legs. This breaks balance in 2 ways. I pull forward, I kick it out. I broke balance in 2 directions. Now it's very easy for me to roll him over. So anytime that you can break balance in 2 directions, it becomes more effective. Kumikata, standard grip. This is a grip that we utilize usually during training. It's a standard grip for almost all of our techniques. In combat or in a street type event where we can't dictate the situation, you may or may not get it, but for training, it's a good practice to utilize the kumikata. I'll use my assistant, Miguel Macano, and we'll demonstrate kumikata. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to reach up with my right hand and I'm going to grab his lapel in this manner, thumb on the inside. He'll do the same. At this point, I'm going to take my left hand, come up and grab his sleeve between his wrist and his elbow, and then he'll do the same. This is standard grip or kumikata. We'll also cover migi o haradare jigotai, or right or left defensive posture. The right defensive posture, which is what we'll use if we're right-handed. We'll have our kumikata, our standard grip, in this manner. At this point, we're going to take a step forward with our right foot. And this is jigotai, migi jigotai, or right defensive posture. This will be what we utilize during training again. If we get into a grappling range in a combative situation or a street situation, we can also fight from this position. Techniques of the body, we break up into 3 different areas. Ashe waza, foot technique, koshi waza, hip technique, and te waza, hand techniques. We're going to talk about ashe waza first. The only reason I do this is I go from the ground up. Ashe waza is the foot techniques. This is from the toes to the knee. That whole area is considered ashe waza. We can use ashe waza in sweeping an opponent's leg, or reaping an opponent's leg, or hips. We can apply bone pressure with our foot, the cutting edge of the foot, or our toes, or applying pressure with the big bone of the lower leg on someone else's bone. We can apply strangles to an opponent with the legs. For instance, sakaku, triangle choke, or using the toes to choke an opponent. Ashe waza can also be considered footwork or the entry into a throw. And we can also consider ashe waza kicking or knees. Moving up the body to the hips, we're going to talk about hip techniques, or koshi waza. Hips can be utilized by pushing them or thrusting them into an opponent to break his balance, or they can be utilized in applying pressure to an opponent's body using bone pressure, or actually using the pelvis as a weapon. We can also use the hips as a fulcrum in throwing, to have them go over the fulcrum to break the opponent's balance and throw them to the ground. Or we can utilize the hips to rotate, to add power to techniques. Hand techniques, te waza. Te waza can be atemi waza, or striking techniques, utilizing the fist or the hands. It can be elbow strikes, which there are 5. It can be off-balancing an opponent by pulling or pushing, or it can be joint manipulation. Nage waza, or throwing techniques, or standing techniques. We're going to talk about nage waza, and there's 3 parts to any throw. The 3 parts are the sukuri, the entry, the kazushi, what we've covered before, breaking a balance, and the kake, or the execution of the throw. I'm going to introduce my next uke, which will be Kevin Murphy. And the throw we're going to discuss is called osotogare, or major outside reap. This throw is very, very well known. It's a judo throw, jujitsu throw, very, very well known. It's in the first of the gokyo, or 5 groups of throws in judo, in Kodokan Judo. It looks like this, and I'll just demonstrate the throw initially. Now with this throw, if we utilize some of the vital points on the body, the acupuncture cavities, we can improve the result of this throw in a combative situation. The first thing we're going to do is we'll get our kumikata, or our standard grip. At this point, I'm going to step forward, and remember there's 3 parts to the throw: the entry, off balancing, and execution, sukuri, kazushi, and kake. I'm going to step forward at a 45-degree angle to his right rear, like this. That's the entry. That's our ashe waza, our footwork. At the same time, what I'm going to do is take my knuckles and come to lung 2, right about here. I'm going to apply pressure in this manner. Now, in a real fight, very difficult, maybe you won't be able to get lung 2. But there's a collarbone up here, the clavicle. You can apply bone pressure to that using your hand in this manner to break the balance. Teiwaza, that's what that is. Our hips are going to drive forward, the koshiwaza, and our leg is going to come up in this manner. Now, for safety with opponents when we're training, we point the toes down and bring it back calf to calf in this manner. But for real world situation, we're going to take and point the toes away and use the cutting edge of our heel. And we're going to attack the bladder meridian. Bladder 55, 56, 57, or 58, or 59, which would be the Achilles tendon. This would be the vital point on the leg. And again, it doesn't matter too much where you hit there. If you hit, you're hitting the calf muscle, which is going to cause some damage and throw the opponent down. So the technique will look like this. Again, I use calf on calf because I don't want to injure the opponent. It's a very tough technique. Remember we said there's a way of training than a practical application. The way of training is when we actually get into our jigatai and we grab our kumikata. The practical application would be this. We square off in a fight and he's going to step in and throw a lunging type punch. We're going to use osotogata using some of those vital points to strike. As we get into our fighting stance, he throws the punch, he steps forward. I'm going to take my step 45 degrees, getting out of the way of his power, like this. At the same time, I'm going to strike his arm on the large intestine meridian, okay? It could be anywhere on the arm. It's also the radial nerve. I'm going to hit large intestine 7, 8, 9, or 10 in this manner. Now, notice that the hand hits, sticks, and follows through. That's an old concept of muchimi or nothing power stick. As it does, notice the head turns toward me and lines up gallbladder 20 for the strike with the hand. These are the teiwazas or the hand techniques. At the same time, I'm going to grab to the back here. I'm going to start breaking his balance by pulling him back. I'm going to raise my leg and do osotogare. Again, combative, I'm going to hit to the bladder meridian, anywhere on that bladder meridian, and throw him down to the deck. It would look something like this. The next technique in Nagewaza is Ippon Seo Nage. I'll use Miguel as uke for this technique. We'll come up and we'll get our standard grip. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my sakuri or my entry, my footwork, or our ashewaza. My right foot is going to come across and my toes are going to point away from him. At the same time, I'm going to bring my other foot in so heels are almost touching. In this manner. My knees are going to bend. Remember I said koshiwaza, hip techniques, getting my hips underneath his hips, making the fulcrum for me to throw. The right arm will come around and hook. Now this is very important because if you hook so that the shoulder is up, he can't choke. If I come underneath here, he's already started getting haraka jimi or a nega choke on me. So the arm should be here this way. The arm in tight, hips down, back straight. At this point, I'm going to straighten my legs and pull forward, throwing him down to the deck. It'll look like this. There's also Morote Seonage, which is a variation of this technique. some of the vital points will come in play on this one. This time, when I get kumikata, I get a little bit of play in his jacket here. I'm going to step across, same ashewaza, sukuri entry. This hand stays on the collar, and I bring it under. This will hit heart 2. Come underneath, lift, and throw down. Now for a combative